You fall in love at 17 the way only a 17-year-old can, completely, recklessly, with every brain cell committed to the feeling and none reserved for consequence. He's 19. He fixes transmissions at his uncle's auto shop in Culiacan with grease-stained hands and a smile that could renegotiate gravity. He's not rich. He's not powerful. He's just a boy from the same dirt road colonia who looks at you like you're the only moving thing in a still town. He brings you tacos because he can't afford a restaurant. He writes your name on a wall near the school because he can't afford a ring. He tells you he's going to build you a house someday, a real one, with a garden and a gate and a kitchen big enough for your mother to cook without touching the walls. You believe him because at 17, a boy's promise is indistinguishable from prophecy. You don't know that in 5 years he'll build that house. You also don't know the house will have bulletproof windows, an underground tunnel, and a helipad disguised as a tennis court. But that's the thing about falling in love with a future drug lord. The red flags look like flags when you don't know the color yet. He starts making money. You don't ask from where. In Culiacan, asking where money comes from is like asking why it rains. It just appears, and you either get wet or you don't. First, a new truck, then new boots, then a thick envelope of cash on your kitchen counter, a kiss on your forehead, and 3 words that will define the next 12 years of your life. Don't worry about it. The phrase doesn't feel like a warning. It feels like warmth. It feels like a man handling things so you don't have to. Don't worry about it becomes the operating system of your relationship before the relationship even has legal paperwork. You're 19. You have no income, no degree, no alternative framework for evaluating what's happening. You just know the boy you love smells less like motor oil now and more like leather seats, and you adjust. Because adjusting is what women in Culiacan are trained to do before they're trained to do anything else. You get married at 20. 300 guests. A 12-piece banda. Enough flowers to drown a cathedral and a fireworks display that probably violated 6 municipal codes. His uncle from the auto shop is there, visibly confused by the budget. Your mother cries the entire ceremony, and you assume it's joy. Years later, you'll revisit that assumption. You'll wonder if she cried because she already knew what you were marrying into and loved you too much to say it. Mothers always know. They just don't always speak. Your legal name changes that day. His surname attaches to yours like a second shadow. One you can't outrun, can't remove, and can't explain to any government agency without triggering a secondary investigation. The ceremony isn't a union. It's an onboarding. You just don't read the terms of service. The first 2 years feel like a telenovela, the good kind, before someone gets amnesia or pushed off a balcony. You live on a ranch outside the city. You have a housekeeper, a cook, a gardener. You shop in Guadalajara and pay for everything in cash. He buys you a white Mercedes SUV for your first anniversary. He's home most nights, affectionate, generous, still looking at you with the same eyes from the dirt road. Except now the hands are clean and the eyes carry something behind them. A weight, a distance, a room in his head where you're not allowed. You decorate the house. You plant the garden he promised. You call your mother every afternoon. You build a life that looks like a life, and you don't examine the foundation because the floors are marble and the view is beautiful. But the marriage has an unwritten clause: silence. Not negotiable, not optional, not discussed. The man lying next to you at night has a daytime existence you must never access, never process, never verbalize to another living person. Your marriage has a non-disclosure agreement. It's just enforced with something heavier than a lawsuit. The first time you see the guns, you're pregnant. You walk into the wrong room. 6 men sitting around a table cleaning assault rifles with the focus of mechanics tuning engines. They look up. Nobody panics. Nobody apologizes. Your husband appears behind you, gently turns you by the shoulders, guides you back to the kitchen. Don't worry about it. You stand in your beautiful kitchen with your hand on your belly and the afterimage of military hardware burned into your vision. You want to scream. You want to drive the white Mercedes back to your mother's house and pretend the last 2 years were fever. But the baby kicks at that exact moment, and the kick rewires every priority in your nervous system. You're not just a wife anymore. You're a mother. And a mother's survival instinct doesn't run on morality. It runs on math. Inside the house, security, money, healthcare, a future. Outside, you're a 22-year-old with no degree. no savings in your own name, and the most wanted surname in the country fused to your identity. The cage is gold-plated, but the lock is structural. You choose to stay, or more accurately, you choose not to leave, which feels different but isn't. Your son is born. Your husband holds him with a tenderness that almost erases the rifles. He cries. The most powerful man in Sinaloa cries, holding a 7-pound baby. And for one moment, you see the boy from the auto shop again. 2 years later, your daughter arrives. She has your eyes and his stubbornness. The house now has 2 children, 4 bodyguards, a panic room behind the master closet, and a nanny who was background checked more thoroughly than a Supreme Court nominee. Your world contracts to property lines. You stop driving yourself. You stop calling friends. Because friends from before the money either envy you or fear you, and neither allows for honest conversation. Your mother visits in an armored convoy and leaves before dark. Your husband disappears for weeks, calls from numbers you don't recognize, speaks in codes you've learned not to decode. When he returns, he's generous with gifts and absent with language. He buys your son a miniature ATV. He buys your daughter imported dolls. He buys you a diamond necklace from a jeweler who flew in from Miami. But he doesn't explain the new scar on his forearm. He doesn't mention why one of the bodyguards was replaced, and nobody speaks the old one's name. In this house, people don't get fired. They get erased, and asking what happened to someone is the fastest way to become someone others ask about. He puts documents in front of you, explains nothing, asks for your signature. You sign. You become co-owner of 14 businesses you've never visited, board member of 3 foundations you've never attended, custodian of bank accounts in jurisdictions you can't find on a map. Meanwhile, you've mastered the only intelligence-gathering method available to cartel wives, pretending to arrange flowers in the next room, while absorbing operational conversations through drywall. You overhear a number, 2 billion annually across the border. The legitimate businesses, real estate, hotels, agricultural exports, are worth hundreds of millions on paper. In practice, the holding company is a washing machine. The clothes going in are soaked in blood. If he goes down, you go down. Not because you participated in operations, but because your name is on every document that makes the operation look clean. You're not his partner, you're his liability shield. And the worst part, you signed every page willingly because he asked nicely, because you loved him, and because "don't worry about it" was the anesthesia that numbed every red flag into background noise. Your son turns 11. He's smart, perceptive, and starting to ask questions you can't answer. Why do they change cars every 2 weeks? Why can't friends visit the house? Why does daddy carry so many phones? You answer with the same phrase you were given. Don't worry about it. You watch it land on his face the way it once landed on yours, first as reassurance, then as a door closing. Your daughter is 9. She doesn't ask questions. She watches. She notices the gardener carries a gun. The nanny tells her it's for the animals. Your daughter looks at her and says they don't have any animals. That night, you lie in bed and calculate the structural load of the lie you've built beneath your children's feet. They think their father is a businessman. They think the bodyguards are drivers. They think the panic room is a storage closet. Every year, the fiction gets heavier, and every year, the truth beneath it gets more radioactive. 6 years into the marriage, the military raids a warehouse 3 hours south. 14 arrested, 2 killed. Your husband vanishes for 9 days. No call, no message, no number. You perform motherhood on autopilot while your brain cycles outcomes. Dead, captured, fled. You pack a bag for the children. You hide cash in a coat lining. You memorize the number of a lawyer in Mexico City, a number whispered to you by another wife at a party 3 years ago. Her husband is serving 40 years in a federal prison in Colorado. She isn't your friend. She's your forecast. On the 10th day, he walks through the front door like he went for milk, hugs the children, kisses you. Don't worry about it. You drink a glass of wine at 2 in the afternoon in a locked bathroom. The first of many afternoons like this. The capture arrives through television. You're standing in the kitchen making your son's lunch when the breaking news banner appears. His name, the word captured. A helicopter shot of a rooftop operation in Mazatlan. Marines in black masks dragging a man from a building. You recognize his walk through the shaking footage. You'd recognize it anywhere. A glass slips from your hand and shatters on tile. Your daughter walks in, looks at the screen, looks at you, says nothing. Those quiet quiet eyes already know. Within 72 hours, the architecture collapses in sequence. Lawyers arrive, not his criminal defense team, but a separate unit retained years ago for exactly this event. They hand you folders containing account numbers, passports, and a custody plan formatted like an evacuation protocol. He prepared for this. He planned for everyone's survival except his own. The government freezes known accounts, seizes 3 properties, misses the ones the accountant buried inside a financial maze with no center. He calls from detention. 10 monitored minutes. More operational honesty than 12 years of marriage. Your son learns the truth from a classmate's phone at lunch. 3 days of silence. Then one question. Did you know? You tell him the most honest thing you've ever said. You knew enough to stay and not enough to leave. His face shows something you've never seen before. Not anger, not sadness, judgment. He's 12 and already understands that the people who love you most are the ones most capable of lying to you. You taught him that, not with words, but with silence. The final twist doesn't arrive from the cartel or the government. It arrives at 4 in the morning as a manila envelope under your door in Querétaro, where you've relocated the children under your mother's maiden name. Inside, every business you co-signed, every account carrying your name, every foundation seat, annotated and mapped to its illegal source. A prosecutable line drawn from cocaine shipments to the signature at the bottom of each page. Your signature. A note confirms the file has been submitted to the U.S. Attorney's Office, Southern District of New York. You've been named in a sealed indictment as a co-conspirator, and the file was submitted by the same law firm your husband retained to protect you. His lawyers sold your future to the prosecution as part of a plea negotiation for a reduced sentence. He traded you to the American justice system the same way he handled everything in your marriage, without telling you, without asking, without giving you the chance to protect yourself. Don't worry about it. The phrase finally decodes. It was never reassurance. It was a gag order dressed in tenderness, and you followed it for 12 years because you loved a boy who promised you a house with a garden. He delivered on every word except the one that mattered. He promised you a home. What he built was a trap, and the garden you planted with your own hands is where they're going to bury you. You sit at the kitchen table. Your daughter draws in the next room. Your son reads about his family in language that converts people into case numbers. The cruelest inheritance isn't the money or the name. It's the silence. The same silence your mother kept at the wedding. The same silence you kept over every document. The same silence sitting in your chest right now as you decide how to explain to your children that the life you built for them was never yours to give. And the only thing you actually own is the catastrophe of having loved someone who used that love as a ledger. The debt, as always, falls on the person who never agreed to borrow. If this one hit different, subscribe. The next one's already being built.